tightness, the likes of which is rather uncomfortable. Another thing too, I gotta make sure I add at the end of this lift is just spam a couple of sets on the adductor machine. So, you know, that's the one where you sit down and you squeeze your legs together. Now, very different than the abductor machine with a B. I'm talking about adduction, right? I feel like that's a pretty solid stabilizer. Plus, it's gonna give your legs, this fucking asshole. Plus, it's gonna give your legs some more thickness on the inside as well. Now, in terms of the abductor machine, the booty machine, you're not gonna catch me on it because I don't want a bigger butt. My glutes get enough development just from the little bit of stimulation they get from the pressing that I do. For the most part, I try to prioritize quads 90%. That's why when I squat, I like to elevate my heels. I'll probably talk about it when I throw the plate down for squats later, but for the most part, I can pretty much guarantee that you have tight ankles. Your ankle mobility is not insane. You know, if I were to tell you to try to like squat down ass to grass with your feet flat on the ground, you just wouldn't be able to do it. And that's not like a huge problem or anything, but it is something that you should, you know, take heed and take notice of. Because when you squat flat-footed with tight ankles, then that means your knees are only going to be able to go so far above your toes. And if they, let's say they can only get to like just above your toes, that means if you want to squat to parallel, something else has to give. And what's going to happen is you're going to end up sticking your butt further out. When I was kind of a beginner squatting, and I'm talking like, you know, early high school days, for one thing, just squatting flat-footed kind of mess with my knees. I didn't know that for whatever reason, my whole little setup in terms of my lower body likes a narrow stance squat that feels good for my knees. But I didn't take into account the fact that I had tight ankles. So every time I would squat, you know, sure, I'd get some quad fatigue, but my glutes would just be on fire. Because, you know, I'd be mainly bending at the waist. You know, like that's kind of a classic powerlifter stance squat, where they really bend over far, they've got the bar really low on their back. They're, in terms of just power, hey, I guess that's the way to do it, right? Activate your entire posterior chain. But the bodybuilders squat, you know, taking a ton of inspiration from Tom Platz on this one. I'm trying to get only my quads working. Keep a relatively upright torso. Now, I'm not completely upright, like what really comes to mind is like the Chinese Olympic weightlifters. Now, they're usually doing, you know, snatches and clean and jerks, but when they squat, their shoulders are like directly above their waist. And one thing that I'm certain helps with that, apart from the fact that they're kind of selectively chosen because they have the right proportions. Now I'm getting a little bit of a tangent, but those guys have very short legs compared to their torso. But the fact that they have pretty good, or really good, ankle mobility allows them to squat like that. So let's get out of this little pre-lift chat. Just, I'm going to sit there and warm up. Like, I'll sit on the leg extension for a couple of sets light, sit on the leg curl for a couple of sets light before I actually get started, because I don't want to do any like working up sets. Like, for me, I want to be, you know, adequately warm, right? Get exposed to the weight quick enough where I don't really get fatigued, and then I can actually start the lift with those first couple of working sets. So let's just park this mofo and get in there. Okay, so slight change of plans. I'm gonna go straight from these